sure if it started yet. Welcome back, everyone. We are live, the live show, League of Inches, Finals Week 1 edition, talking points. You name it, we're doing it tonight. It's going to be a good show, a bumper show. Lots to talk about. Obviously, Finals Week 1 for us footy tragics is sort of like a extended Christmas time. It's one of the best times of the year. I love this time of year. It starts to warm up. Barbecue gets cranking, people come over, a bit of drinks and watch the footy. How good is it? Look, we're going to talk obviously about the finals, talk about some of the teams that haven't made it either. Obviously, some talking points coming out of that as well. But performances of the week, we'll get to straight off the bat. I'll go first. Look, I've got the NRL. I got the Penrith Panthers as my performance of the week. It's pretty remarkable. 3 out of the last 4 minor premierships they have won. So they've clearly been the benchmark of this competition for some time now. Really looking forward to seeing what they have to come in this final series and seeing who can rise up to their level and take them down. So, well done to the Penrith Panthers, as much as it pains me to actually say that. NRLW, I like to say the Dragons, who just absolutely smashed the Cowboys up there at Townsville and finally put together probably their best footy, which we haven't seen from the Dragons since this competition has started this year, and they keep teasing us about it. But yeah, it was finally good to see him get up there and get a really good win. So, Adam, go to you now. Your performances of the week.
Oh, was there footy on the weekend? Was it? Sorry, I didn't realise. I thought the season had finished.
Yeah, Maitland won. That's the jersey.
Yeah, I was about to say my performance of the week was the Maitland Pickers, being up 38-0 at half time in the grand final was a pretty outstanding performance. But if you want to look at the NRL, and if anyone remember that was on, I was just actually really impressed with Manly, just because it was actually one of the most entertaining games to watch I've seen in a long time as a neutral, and that free-flowing kind of not really giving a shit because both their seasons are over. Even the Tigers played some entertaining footy. It was actually just a great attacking game of footy. Look, obviously give a shout out to the Roosters as well. I thought they were pretty good. Got the job done there over South Sydney. And my individual performance of the week was actually Sam Walker. Honourable mentions to Kieran Foran, who I gave a rap last week, scoring a hat-trick. The game against the Dolphins, he's really turned back the clock. Sorry, against the Dolphins. Wow. That game against Canterbury for the Gold Coast, he really turned back the clock. Shows how much footy I watched today. I watched a lot of highlights. And the NRLW performance of the week, well, I'm going to be 100% honest. I didn't watch any. I had a very busy weekend. The wedding on Saturday, right. And Father's Day on Sunday. I didn't get to watch any NRLW, but look, I can pretend I did, and I'll just look it up and say, who had a really good win? Oh, wow, let's look. And Adam loves footy. How about those Dragons, hey? 48-16 winners over the Cowboys. Very impressive. Well, how about those Roosters who demolished Parramatta? So Parramatta got demolished again 46-12.
I like that. one. Jez, take it over for us for this one.
All right. I've gone with some individual results. So the NRL, I've got Dom Young breaking the record, and the way that he did it too with that freakish try included a backflip. Now, I had to watch this game on highlights because we were at a wedding, so it was nice to see that one at about midnight. And then I've got Grant Anderson. He's a Newcastle boy. I went to uni with his brother. We're good mates, and he scored a double, but his intercept try was really, really fantastic for the Melbourne Storm. So Grant Anderson as well. My NRLW was Caitlin Johnson, the tackle, the shot that she put on in that game. Nobody's getting through her. She absolutely flattened her, and it was fantastic to see. So she gets my tackle of the round.
Taught her everything she knows.
Yeah, my cousin as well. So shout out. Love you, cuz. Good to see you playing some good footy. Which is not really, it's just an inside joke I keep having with everyone. Look, we've obviously want to talk about the finals and things like that, but I want to first bring up 3 teams that have had some disappointing seasons for their own standards, and what probably a lot of the fans actually felt like would have happened with them this year, and they'd be definitely lining up this weekend and playing a game of rugby league, which they haven't done so. And I want to ask you boys, who's had the worst season out of South Sydney, the Cowboys, and the Eels? And you could probably mount valid cases for all 3 of these. So it's going to probably be hard to narrow down to just one. But I want to see if you boys can do it. Jez, I'll let you take this away first, being the non-fan of this group.
Yeah, look, I had to look up a couple of things to try and split them because as you're saying, it's really hard to split their seasons with, you know, South last year finished 7th on the ladder, 4th for Parramatta, 3rd for the Cowboys. Oh, and then where they are now, like they're still in and around each other. I had to look at their points for and against. And again, there wasn't much difference happening there. Their completion rates was probably the only difference, where the Cowboys have completed 80% in comparison to 74 and 75%. Average points for are very close as well. Like all teams averaging about 24 points a game, but then conceding the same amount as well. It's so hard to split hairs. When you think of expectations, you probably look at Parramatta and probably cast a bit more of a magnifying glass on their season just from where they finished last year, all the dramas that have been happening there as well. But then you can't forget that the Cowboys and Souths were also in the quarters. And the talent that is spread across these three teams, they should be in the finals, all three of them. So it's so hard to split hairs here. But just in comparison on who was in the grand final last year, you'd have to say Parramatta.
Yeah, it's a hard one to argue. Let's see if Adam has a go back for that one.
Yeah, I disagree. Look, it's easy to say Parramatta, and obviously I'm the most disappointed that Parramatta aren't there. But the fact you've got 3 prelim finalists that have missed out in the finals, they've all really had failures. Look, the Cowboys I expected, given being up there last year for that prelim final, I actually expected the Cowboys to drop off a bit because they won so much of many of their games last year based on forward dominance. And it's hard for forwards to get up for games and do that every single year. And every single game, like they did last year. Like they were just, some of the run meters last year for the Cowboys were absolutely ridiculous. And you had Jeremy Nene coming in, and in his first season, we hear about the second season, how much players struggle. Obviously, Tom Lowe out injured as well. So I expect the Cowboys to drop off a bit, so I wouldn't put it as them. Parramatta, I can make excuses for them. Obviously, the draw is an excuse. We know they were screwed around for the draw, and no one can deny that. The short turnarounds, the amount of 5-day turnarounds after playing big games, like I can give you a really good example of, I'm going to get it up because I need to find it, but a time where we played on the Monday against the Bulldogs, I think it was, or the Sunday against the Bulldogs, and then had to go to the Friday night and play play Brisbane in Darwin. Like, that's just ridiculous. That should never happen. It's a 5-day turnaround to go from Sydney to Darwin. And the whole point we take the game to Darwin is to expand the game and do stuff for the community up there and shit. So, little things like that just aren't. It's why you can scratch Parramatta away from it. And obviously the season they had with injuries and suspensions. I'm making a lot of excuses. And it was disappointing because, let's be honest, there was a lot of games they just didn't turn up. But if you go look at South Sydney, given what they did last year, and South Sydney have been pretty much consistent prelim finals or grand finals for about 5 or 6 years now. If you go look at South Sydney, I had them to win the comp after round 11, up until they played us pretty much when we exposed
They were sitting first after round 11, weren't they?
They weren't first, I don't think, but I think they were favourites to win the comp. I'm not sure if they're actually first. They're up there around that, but it was really close.
They were playing good footy. They were playing really good footy.
You're probably right. I think there was a time where there was them, Penrith and Brisbane all on equal amount of points up the top. Because Penrith weren't first for quite a while, and they just obviously went that run where they didn't lose games. But if you look at South Sydney's opening, they played Cronulla at Shark Park and won that game. They got beat by Penrith. They got beat by the Roosters. And they played Manly, and they got beat by Melbourne. Then they went on like a bit of a glory run. They played the Bulldogs and beat them by 50. They played the Dolphins, who started to struggle with injuries. They beat Penrith. They beat Brisbane. They beat the Tigers. They went on that run where they just knocked off Penrith, who will finish first.
Yep.
Brisbane, who will finish second, and Melbourne, who will finish third. So if I'm their fans, I'm looking back at that. And 2 of those games are at Suncorp Stadium, may I add as well. I'm looking back at that and going, shit, we've just knocked off the best teams in the comp that finished 1, 2, and 3. Yet we haven't made finals. So I think that's the biggest failure and the biggest disappointment there. I think they've actually got some big issues too. Just watching their team, I think they'll struggle. I know they've got Whiten coming in next year, but they need to make some changes, move Latrell to centres, and Whiten's got to go to fullback or something. Because what I did see on Friday night's game is Cody Walker's getting on and he's struggling to control the team, and Ilias isn't quite up to being a controlling half. So I can't see us making the 8 next year.
Yeah, I think you both make valid arguments for both teams. I think it's a pretty level playing field for both of those outfits. For me personally, I sort of agree there with what Adam's saying about the Cowboys. I think they overachieved last year, and they've sort of come back to where they were predicted to finish last year. So it's sort of it sort of balanced itself out with where people think the Cowboys are actually at as a team. I'll talk about the Rabbitohs first, and obviously we've seen a lot of issues come out of that place the last couple of weeks. The infighting. Honestly, I'll come out and say now, I'll be surprised if by the end of next year, Jason Demetrio is still the coach there of South Sydney. I think he's a dead man walking. I think it's crazy to think that South Sydney, look, they might be doing stuff internally now, but with how this season has ended for South, to think that their coach is still there next year, I feel like it's almost irreparable of what has happened there and how he can fix the rumblings that have come out, the truths that have come out. I don't know how he comes back from that and actually gets the players back and fixes everything. It just seems like he's totally lost the dressing room. And I don't think he can come back from that. I would personally look at replacing him now. I'd probably be on the phone to Sam Burgess straight away and asking him to stay in. I think he's the man for the job, but it'll be interesting to see if South Sydney can make those decisions and what happens in the offseason. I think we haven't heard the last yet of South Sydney. I think there'll be a lot of noise coming out of the camp in the next few months, and it'll be interesting to see what actually happens there. Parramatta, obviously, me and Adam being fans, we've had these chats already at the Talk and Para podcast, but I think now that everything's settled down and I get to actually watch some finals footy and enjoy it for once and not being on the edge of my seat and having heart attacks every time, it's made me think about things a lot more and see things, and the emotion's been taken away from it. And I was really disappointed as a fan. But when I look back at it, like they were literally grand finalists. Where was the fire? Like, I know there's excuses there to say the draw wasn't kind, there's suspensions and things like that. A lot of those are self-inflicted, like suspensions, self-inflicted injuries, and how we've managed it as a club, self-inflicted. I don't think we've managed injuries at all well this year. And players like Junior Paulo, you could tell was quite fatigued most of the year. Why didn't we let him rest and have a week off like other clubs have done with some of their star players? So that's my question there for the Eels. We're like, doesn't seem like any player apart from probably Gutho and Moses actually had that genuine fire this year, and maybe Will Penasini, sorry, but we just sort of gave up too easy. It was sort of like we just let people or teams dictate to us where we should be coming out saying we're going to win the comp this year. We're going to be hunting everyone. I don't care if you come at us, but we've got a way to overlook that. We look at teams like the Storm and some of the other big teams this year. They've all had players out for a period of time and big name players. So I just don't buy the whole we've had injuries. It's sort of all happened. We should be a club now. Our depth should be bigger than that. Like, which if we lose one or two players, big whoop. Like, we're acting like Sean Lane was a massive loss. Well, yeah, okay, last year was good, but if we don't have another one or two good second rows coming through, young ones that can take over that for when we need them, then the club's got some massive issues there. So
there's
I think
no
South
doubt, there's no doubt with shithousery, but one thing I can guarantee is, like you said, there was a tough draw. It was a tough draw last year and we won those games. But one thing I can guarantee is, after all the scrutiny this year, that Parramatta will start next year a lot better because they'll get a shitload easier draw.
Yeah. Well,
do you think it's a strength and conditioning issue at Parramatta?
100%.
Like the programs that they're running there, you can just see that the run meters aren't where they should be. And the Junior Paulo thing, I know we've bagged on him a little bit, but I reckon it's a bit of a strength and conditioning issue. And whoever's in control of that needs a bit of a wake up call and maybe a revamp of the program.
The issue at the club is that Brad Arthur doesn't agree with someone, it'd be an assistant coach, a strength and conditioner, blah, 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 blah. They're gone. And that's been a team now for 9 to 10 years. So that's where they obviously have big issues. And I think they need to probably look at putting potentially a coaching director in, someone sitting above Brad Arthur to make those decisions, because there's clearly some kind of problem there.
I think as well, and not just Parramatta, I think they used as a bit of a cop-out was the World Cup. And I think that's where a lot of the strength and conditioning has come into it, where some of the teams that were poor at that part of it and maybe pushed the players too hard early on instead of letting them ease through the start of the preseason and really working up to a base. Instead, they've sort of really been affected and impacted by what's happened here, and play like teams like, it's funny, we're talking about three of the clubs where the Cowboys were one where I think they've dealt with the World Cup well at all. A lot of their players looked fatigued early on in the year, which is crazy to think. As we just said, I think Parramatta, that's a big issue for the club as well. So the World Cup, I think, was a nice excuse for a lot of teams early on, and then they quickly realised, hang on, we've given everyone too much of a head start. Now, what are we going to do? We've got ourselves sort of against the wall now, and we can't come back from it. While teams like the Warriors and stuff, who a lot of these teams would have been banking on to come back to the pack, kept going, and they had easier runs at the time and things like that, and they just kept winning. They kept getting 2 points. So same like the Raiders. The Raiders just kept getting those wins that they needed at the right time to just keep them away from the pack that was chasing. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. But look, let's go on. Yeah, sorry, Jez.
I was just going to ask, how long does Demetrio have left in his tenant chair at South? Like, what's his contract?
Well, this is the interesting thing.
And how long's he been in charge for?
Year,
since Bennett left. When was that? Like
2 years? 2 years, I think. Yeah, right.
I think it was.
He had a year. It's 2 years. It's his second year.
Yeah.
Second year.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he's technically off contract this year, but apparently there's been a 3-year extension signed, but nothing's been official yet. So this is
Contracts
what the
mean
meeting
nothing
that
for
is
coaches
talking about.
anyway.
Yeah.
No, they don't. And 3 years, there you go. And with just with all the drama that's happening out of there, that's going to be really hard to come back from. It's going to be a massive PR stunt. Like, it's going to be borderline the Bulldogs going into soup kitchens on Mad Monday sort of gear. Like, they're going to have to rally and really show the public that.
Unless you're
I know, but that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to show, no, we're all fine here. We're all friends. We love each other, because there's been too much leakage come out of that club around the dramas involving certain key players, certain key coaches. And you can see by them being moved on that there is a lot of drama happening behind those doors.
Yeah. I heard one of the reviews from that
certainly
thing said that they look so desperate and sad and struggling so much, said John, who's been homeless for 5 years.
And look, we'll talk about this probably
in one of the hotels.
We do a couple of these episodes, but I think there's some key positional changes needed at that club as well. But we'll get to that in future episodes. Look, let's talk about. It's a big talking point this week, and I've put a post up about it. Generated a lot of interest. There's a lot of people going back and forth. It's pretty evenly split where this is at. But should Sydney sides play home games for the final series at either CommBank, Allianz, or in a drastic where it's probably too powerful Sydney clubs at core stadium? So I just want to give some examples and some numbers here. So this weekend we've got obviously PointsBet, which is getting a lot of talk about this. That holds about 14 to 15k capacity. I also want to throw in Bluebet Stadium here, which I think has been sort of swept under the rug, but that's only about 22,000 as well capacity. Now, look, the other 3 stadiums, which are brand new almost stadiums, or 2 of them are CommBank 30k. Jess is a webcam.
I'm still here. I'm still here. Don't worry.
Yeah,
we'll fix that up later. I'm still here.
That's perfect. And then Allianz is a 45.5k stadium as well. They're both almost brand new. For mine, I've got things to say about this, but we'll go to first Adam. And obviously our call is 83.5, which is only drastic circumstances where we know there's going to be a crowd like an Eels versus Dogs or something. Where are you at with this one and playing these Sydney teams at either bigger stadiums, or should they keep a suburban home game?
Look, it's hard to say, but I want to say it should depend on who they're playing. But that's kind of unfair as well. Like, we know there'll be a lot of Warriors fans that want to obviously go to the Penrith game this week as well, because the amount of Warriors fans that live in Sydney, Kiwis live in Sydney and Melbourne and things like that. But after the fuck around of last year, going to that Parramatta Penrith game, the fact that probably 40,000 fans were locked out of that game, we ended up with a game played at Penrith where Parramatta fans got access to tickets at the same time anyway, and the crowd ended up being a 50-50 split. So there was no home ground advantage there for Penrith. But what you found was, 1, fans were locked out. 2, it took 40 minutes to get into the ground because there's 2 entrances into the ground, or 3 entrances into the ground, and the people sitting in the grandstand had to walk via the hill and shuffle through. Like, I was actually dropping shoulders through the hill just to get through, because it was that crowd on the hill, because they probably oversold tickets to get as many in there as they could. So after the experience of last year, I'm all for it. Look, it's obviously easy for us, given the fact that as Parramatta fans, we know CommBank's obviously always going to be one of the options. But if Parramatta were playing the Bulldogs or something like that, I would have no problem if they, said a core stadium. So there's a pretty simple solution to this, I think. And we know how useless Ticketek can be and the NRL can be, but tickets obviously go on sale on the Monday morning at 10 o'clock. Why not we know when the games are scheduled. And look, let's be honest, next year they're probably going to be looking at that bye round by all the talk, the week off. Why can't you put a ticket wait list? And anyone who wants to buy tickets, go on, wait list. If they all of a sudden get 60,000 people for a Penrith, let's say it's Penrith versus Parramatta at Penrith or Parramatta versus Combank, so let's play the game at a call. Now, you might lose 10 or 1,000 people that go, I don't want to go to a call, I want to Penrith or whatever, but there's a very simple solution around it. I know it's a bit of a fuck around, but people, if they're desperate to go, will get on. And people with experiences of missing out tickets, like it goes back to 2009. When Parramatta playing St. George, 1 versus 8, and Parramatta fans didn't actually get access to tickets at the same time then. There was allocated tickets for us in certain bays, but there was a massive number of Parramatta fans there. But that was going to be 50 or 60,000 seat. If that was at a core, or if that was at the old Allianz, it would have been 46,000. Massive. Instead, they played obviously at Cobra, and the debate's been going since then. I personally think the PointsBet one's a joke, a massive joke. Yeah. To have a 14,000 at NRL finals game.
Construction site.
Well, it's a construction
site.
It's
not even completed yet. There's cranes and everything there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But, and it's just
don't they deserve to have it there, though?
But
because they finished higher, don't they deserve the home advantage? This is the argument against. Like you've given lots of points in terms of getting more bums on seats and having that capacity there. But would you be happy if a Parramatta game was taken from Combank to play at a bigger stadium?
I had a call, it wouldn't worry me. It's literally 5 minutes down the road. It really wouldn't worry me. Look, let's say we're playing the Roosters, and this is where lies the issue this year, because obviously the Sharks are playing the Roosters, and the next closest big stadium is Allianz, the Roosters' home ground.
Yep.
But let's be honest, if they took that game to a core stadium, for example, they probably only get 25, 26,000 because Roosters fans don't turn up to week 3. Cronulla fans are the same. But the point is 14, 15,000 compared to the crowds that AFL are going to offer up this week. It makes us look like the less, obviously, superior sport in a way there. And the atmosphere will be rocking at Cronulla like it was at Penrith last year, but still, there needs to be some changes made, and the precedent needs to be set for all teams.
But do you run the risk of, the regular season games that it's like Souths versus Roosters or South versus Tigers? Tigers probably not a good example, but they play those at a core stadium. When we went and saw the Knights play, I know they're not a Sydney team, but we went and saw them play the Bulldogs. There was like 14 people there. So do you run the risk of having it at a big stadium and not getting the crowd?
Well, they made that mistake.
That waiting list is what you were saying. However, I don't know.
They made this mistake years ago.
I'd rather be a full ground.
Was it Manly versus Penrith game? They moved to Allianz Stadium from Manly. Manly obviously has the ability to hold 18,000, 19,000. They got 13,000 people there because Penrith fans didn't want to travel. Manly fans don't know how to go across the bridge. And it was made a joke of it. And the Manly fans did that on purpose. Let's be honest. They don't give a shit how many fans are at the game. They care about the TV ratings. They care about the TV ratings.
Where the money comes from.
100%. But as a fan, I guess I don't have to worry about it because my team always attracts crowds. And that's just being 100% honest. But like, I'd be pretty filthy, if Parramatta are playing Cronulla this week, for example, and knowing that we have access. We know Parramatta fans, half the crowd's going to be Parramatta for sure. Obviously, probably not on half because of the corporates and stuff. But, it's obviously different for people like Canberra and Newcastle and stuff for sure. But I'm not a big fan. Let's say Newcastle had the chance to host a prelim. I'm not a big fan of that as well because we've seen when the Knights have played prelim finals back in the day at the old Allianz or SCG or a core stadium, they'll travel. They'll get buses and they'll travel. So it should be about those
we went and saw Danny Badiris get his head knocked off. We
100%.
watched him play his last game.
That was Paramount.
No,
that was
Newcastle
versus Roosters. Yep. Yeah. And half the crowd were Newcastle fans. And they were never going to win that game as well, and half the crowd still turned up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a weird one because I feel like in a way this is where the NRL once again contradicts itself because we see next year we're taking 2 games over to Las Vegas. So if teams are going to whinge about to grow the game and people are whinging if we take a game 10 kilometers different to where the actual original stadium would be, like it's just crazy to think this causes so much. I feel like if we're in a position now where we want to grow the game and we want to be this best product of what we can possibly be, it's a no-brainer. We've got 2 pretty much brand new stadiums. Use them for the biggest occasions. I don't care what teams are in it. If it's a Sydney club, you just have to use it. I don't care if it's a team's home ground normally. Tough luck, tough cities. You've got to use it. You've got to promote your brand at the best venues. It's just crazy to think. Like it's like people who like you think about business owners. They're not going to rock up in a used Datsun bloody 1985 model. They rock up to their meetings in a nice bloody Ferrari or a Merc or something like that. That they're showing off what they're worth and how good their product is. Now, if you can tell me, people who are sitting in Las Vegas now, they know that week 1 finals are starting, and then they sit there and watch the Sharks versus the Roosters, and there's some cranes in the background, and there's mesh up, and there's scaffolding and everything. 13,000 there, yeah, it's going to be packed. Love it. But seriously, come on. The stadium.
I think that's the only ground. I think that's the only ground that's causing this issue is because it is under construction.
I'd still say Penrith,
it's a shocking suburban ground. But like, I don't know. I would be filthy if the Knights game this weekend was moved to Sydney. Like I would be, because we deserve to have that home final. We get nearly 30,000 there for a sellout. What does it hold? 30.
You know where you
33.
You know where you get
30. Yeah.
But the thing is,
where part of this can be helped. Part of this can be helped because when the ticket sales go on sale, you go 70 to 30% split or something to the Knights, so it still has that home ground feel to it.
It doesn't matter.
And then that way,
I still think there's value in finishing higher and getting a home advantage.
I get that. I get it for the travel and stuff. And Newcastle, like I said, it's different. It's regional, but the advantage Newcastle is they're playing Canberra this week. There'll still be a couple of thousand Canberra fans that will travel up. They've got 2 days, and I know a few that live around here that'll be there. But
the drummer, shout out.
Yeah, he'll be there. He's everywhere. That bloke doesn't shut up.
He took the day off work to go to Corey Holsborough's judiciary hearing in Sydney. He asked for a day off work.
He shuts up in week 2 of the finals last year. That's for sure. Anyway, but let's say Parramatta played Newcastle this week in my dream world where it should have happened if we would have won enough games. Given the fact that both Parramatta and Newcastle fans would have been on there at 10 o'clock buying tickets, and Parramatta have 30,000 members who are, most of who would be prepared to travel 2 hours up, a lot to live on the Central Coast in this area. It wouldn't have been a 50-50 split once again, but it would have been pretty close too. And that's not an advantage to Newcastle. So they need, you're right, they need to change
Newcastle members get first dibs, or do Parramatta members as well?
No. And Canberra got access to tickets at the same time as Newcastle.
So it's just members that get first dibs.
Yeah, NRL competing sub-ticketed members.
Yeah, and Parramatta would have brought up a hell of a lot of people because there are lots that are in this area.
It would have been, yeah. Like I said, we 50-50 split at Penrith last year, and there was the issue. 43 minutes tickets sold out in last year for that week 1 game. Yeah. And there was thousands that missed out. So, after 43
minutes. Penrith versus Warriors as well at Bluebet.
Well, Parramatta versus the Warriors earlier in the year. There was 7,000 Warriors fans there easily.
Yeah.
I don't have just a gripe with the Sharks game. I actually think the Pens game should be moved as well because there's Warriors fans that come out of the woodwork like there's no tomorrow this year. We've seen Warriors jerseys everywhere. There's a huge following of Warriors. Yeah, there's a huge following of Warriors supporters in Sydney. I got no doubt if that went to Combank, it'd be 30K sold out easily. I reckon
is it worth it for 8,000 though? Like really?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If 8,000 maybe not Combank, but if you go to Allianz, I reckon it'd go close to selling out there as well. That's 45K. So I think you'd get very, very close to selling that stadium out. And I just feel like we've got to a stage now where it's got to be the brand, and the NRL is actually in control of finals. I don't think a lot of people understand that. It's actually the NRL's decision on where the games are actually played. So they could have easily turned around to Sharks and just said it's not good enough, or Penrith and gone, we'll take it to the big stadiums. It's just crazy. I just still think it's crazy to think we've got these 2 awesome stadiums that just aren't getting used for the big occasions, which is what they were made basically for. So, but anyway, we could argue this until we're blue in the face.
That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a good talking point. There's plenty of people popping off in the comments as well.
I want to quickly highlight is McDonald Jones Stadium holds 33,000. I literally found out about a week and a half ago with those night sellouts of 29 or 28,000 over there. New South Wales Police will only allow Newcastle to sell 30,000 tickets now. So they're never going to break their ground record that was set because apparently it's unsafe to be on the hill. Yeah.
Okay.
Here you go. How crazy is that?
It does get pretty packed. I don't
Let's talk about
think it'll be too long before those grass hills get replaced by seats. But anyway.
Replaced.
Yeah.
That'll make them a colossal type feel.
Yeah, it will.
All right. Let's look into the finals a bit now before we get to some more awards we're doing tonight. The player each finals game that we think will just set the game on fire. It doesn't necessarily have to be who we think, man, or something will be. It's just a player we feel like you've got to watch because they're just going to be on fire that game and really turn it. So first one's obviously Broncos v the Storm up there, Suncorp Stadium on the Friday night. Personally, I'm locking in Reece Walsh for this one. I can't wait to watch him play, and I think he really can be the difference in this game as to why the Broncos win. Adam?
Yeah, I've got.
Can you just highlight that comment, please?
I haven't flexed once. It's just a very tight jersey. Sorry, hang on.
Did Matt play on the weekend?
Can you just give me a minute? Sorry, just give me a minute.
Did Matt play on the weekend? If so, congratulations, Matt. I'll go then. I'll go whilst Adam's going to apparently go and change into another Maitland jersey. I have Payne Haas for the Broncos. I think he's really going to step it up this final series and really help. And also, I just didn't want to pick Walsh because everyone's going to pick Walsh. He's going to do something spectacular. I want a forward in there that's going to put his mark on the game. And then I've got Munster for the Storm. I think he's going to come out of his shell finally and play to the ability that we know he can. And I think he might turn it on this final series and assist Melbourne in going deep.
Sorry, I just want to be a coward like Matt Sapula. Sorry, Matt, you bought that on yourself, eh? You actually bought that on yourself. It doesn't even fit in my head. How little is your
expecting head? That. I was not expecting that. If you guys, you've got to watch this episode.
We need context. Adam, we need context.
So Matt here, who's been tough in the comments and just got off a 3-day bender.
Lucas's favourite player, Adam's son.
Yeah, he is. Wears his headgear every game because he runs his mouth a little bit too much and people want to punch him. So, and hit him with swinging arms. So I've got to wear the headgear. And obviously Lucas was at the game and he's played with his headgear before. So Lucas was happy to go and Matt gave him the headgear after the grand final win. So look, Lucas hasn't taken it off actually. So I just thought I'd wear it tonight. And now I'm a coward as well, mate.
Suit it. What about your Broncos v Storm player to look out for?
My Broncos Storm player. I've actually got the Storm to win the game. Interesting enough, as I said. So yeah, I had that predicted a long time ago that the Storm be my team. So my player to watch. Look, I find it interesting that they've obviously gone back to starting Meany. I thought the way Pappenhausen was there last week, but he's had a bit of a quiet year. So I'm going to say Munster.
Yeah. Oh, that was Jez's one. Look out. So you're going the Storm.
It's actually really hot and really hard to wear, Matt. How do you wear that playing football?
Jez, who you got to win this game?
I also have the Storm to win. I just back their system. I don't know. And I think the Broncos will get a loss out of the way and then probably go a little bit deeper.
I've got the Bronx in this one. I just feel like they're ready to do something in this competition, and I think the hoodoo will be broken. Adam Reynolds, Reece Walsh, masterclass. Next game, Penrith v the Warriors, whatever you want to call them. My player to watch in this one, Stephen Crichton. I think he steps up in the big games and always manages to do something quite skillful, gets an intercept in there as well. So back him for a try scorer as well. It's a big gamble responsibly, though. And I'll go Penrith to win this, but it'll be about a 1-12 game. It'll be closer than a lot of people think. Jez?
I've got Brian Toto, just an absolute workhorse, but you watch him earn another 50, 60 metres to his normal 300 that he gets, and I reckon he'll bag a couple of tries too. Just he does the hard yards out of their own end. And I also have Penrith to win.
Yeah. Adam?
I've got he beat me to it, but Jerome Lewis. Oh yeah, wait. Henry's already said it in the comments, but yeah, he doesn't have work. Doesn't have work on Friday or Saturday, whatever the game is. But I couldn't help myself but have a dig at him. My player to watch in this game is actually Liam Martin. I think he's had, like I said, another player's had a quiet year, but will stand up big time when it comes to game. But if I'm going from the opposition, I think Penrith will win the game. Just the crowd. I think the Warriors will be in it till probably about the 60th minute mark, and Penrith will want to run away with it. I think he did us last year, but I think Sean Johnson will put on a bit of a masterclass in that first half before Penrith come on too good.
Don't put Liam Martin in your team of the year because you get torn to shreds.
Oh, special shout out for that, Actually, Jez, we're going to save that.
Who scored a try? Who scored a try?
We're going to save this till the end because I'm going to give you the right of reply, the final say about your team of the year, which we have copped quite a few comments about and DMs as well. I'll let you know. Sharks v the Roosters, the first elimination game. So we'll call this the Bali Cup. One team will go straight to Bali after this one. Adam, who you got for this one and your play to look out for?
Yeah, I got the Roosters. Momentum's a funny thing in football. I had the Roosters winning whoever they played this week if they finished 8th and played Newcastle as well. So I know, like Cronulla, like I said, they're kind of flat track bullies. They haven't really, they beat 1 or 2 teams in the top 8 this year, and those teams have been struggling with players out and stuff like that. But I've got the Roosters. Obviously, you can't count Canberra on the weekend with a send off, but the Roosters, based on momentum, player to watch in that game. Can I just generally say they're halves? Because I really feel like their halves played their best game of footy last week. They actually combine well. And looking back to the Roosters even last year, when Sam Walker burst on the scene and Kiri was out, it was all the pressure of how good's it going to be when Kiri get back? They're going to win the comp. But then Kiri come back and they seem to struggle with the balance issue for so long. They never seem to get the balance right of who was playing the dominant role. So I reckon I'm just going to say the halves in general because I think they've finally found that balance and that combination they've needed. The best thing could happen for Sam Walker was Cooper Cronk trying to ruin his career. Obviously, then had that injury and spent some time in New South Wales Cup, and he's come back and mate, it put a smile on my face. And not many times you watch the Roosters games and get a smile on your face. I just felt so happy for the young kid.
Jez?
Yep, I've got Cam McInnes. I think he's going to break his tackle record that he set, which was, 80... How many tackles did he make in that game?
A lot.
Had it written down somewhere.
83 or something? 83,
yeah,
I think.
I reckon he's going to beat it. But they're going to lose. So the Roosters are to win, but Cam McInnes is going to beat his tackle record.
Look out. That's a finals
It's also
effort
a who
if you've
cares
ever seen
game.
one. I've got
84 tackles. Had it written down. 84.
There we go. I've got Joey Manu. I think he's coming back from injury and he's been a real strike weapon for the Roosters this year, playing multiple positions. He's back in the centre. And I think while there's been pressure on players like Tedesco who haven't seemed to aim up, and as Adam said, Luke Keary, I just think Joey Manu is always their reliable force who always can seem to come up with something. And one of those big game players who just seem to get to that extra level. I've got the Roosters to win this one as well. I think the Roosters will get this done. Now, the game, obviously, Jez can't wait for. We'll keep him till last because we know who he'll go for. The Knights v the Raiders in the other Bali Cup. So who knows? Maybe Bradman Best might be thinking about going to Bali and his head's over there. We don't know.
He might be building some houses.
Obviously, I just think that the Knights are on a juggernaut at the moment. They're so well drilled. I know Jez will come on and spook it, but as a person who's not a fan of the Knights, I just have to say how good they actually are to watch at the moment. And obviously, there's an older rivalry there, the Eels, so that doesn't always come out easy. It isn't nice to say that, but just got to applaud them.
Why is there a rivalry with the Knights? What happened?
Yeah, let's not talk about a few.
I don't remember it. It didn't happen.
Yeah,
You still remember crying on the train home, Adam? You've told me this story.
I was 10.
I think a lot of this, most of this has come back off the Knights' form is Kalen Ponga. So here's my player to watch. Obviously, just keep an eye on him. He's a superstar, and he's just in rare form at the moment, which everything he does turns to gold, and the Knights are going off the back of that. Adam?
I've just looked at the Canberra team for the first time as I come here to predict Canberra. And my player to watch was Jack White, and who's playing in the centres. What have they done? Has Ricky lost the plot, or what? Is he preparing for next year in a week one finals game? He's got Jack White in the centres, and he's moved Jared Croker to 18th man. Now, is that some gamesmanship or what? I don't know. My player to watch.
Mind games
no
for a tough away game.
No Pupley.
Yeah, they're struggling. My player to watch is Hudson Young against the Knights. Just the fact he's a Newcastle boy and got shit on by the Knights, he always comes and plays well against him. I don't think Canberra can beat him, though. So my player to watch for the Knights is... I don't even know. It's hard because my bold prediction is everything's gone peachy for the Knights for 9 weeks. right? As I've said, they've been on that dream run where they've won too many games in a row, in my opinion. I feel like they need to lose one. So the reason I want to tip Canberra is for that. And the reason I also want to tip Canberra is the fact of what Canberra did last year. They went to Melbourne last year in week 1 of the finals. They finished 8th. They beat 5th place. If there's one coach that can get a team up for a game, it's Ricky Stewart. He puts it up on a board for them and puts their names up there and says, you'll be cut if you don't turn up this week. But
as a projector.
Projector, yeah, that's what I meant, yeah. But I've just got this funny feeling, and like I really don't care either way because I hate both teams. I don't like Ricky Stewart, but I've got this funny feeling that Canberra's somehow going to upset Newcastle because things just aren't going to go Newcastle's way. I know, and my bold prediction is for Kalen Ponga to not finish the game because I reckon they'll come out and they'll put it on him. I reckon there'll be some.
That's how you beat the Knights.
100%.
That's how you beat the Knights. Take him out.
Yeah, and they'll try. They'll 100% try. They've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Obviously,
yeah. Even still with the red and blue glasses on, I have the Knights to win. I also had Whiten and Young written down for my Raiders players to watch. Whiten, because I think he has a point to prove, but then I saw he's playing in the centres. So again, I did the same thing as Adam and went, oh, okay, he'll hardly touch the ball.
He won't play in the centres. There's no way he plays in the centres.
And then I had Young down because I think he's still trying to prove himself after his pretty dismal origin efforts. And then coming up against the Knights, he always pulls it out. Always pulls it out, whether at home or away. For my Knights players to watch, I've actually got Dane Gagai. It's like someone flipped him to Queensland mode. You know, the old Simpsons meme that used to go around, plays Origin for Queensland, he's out of this world, and then, you know, why can't he do that for us? Oh, he's on Knights mode, that's why. I feel as though in the back end of his career, he's found a way to keep that switch on. And I've also got to mention for Lockie Fitzgibbon coming back for this game. It's his last home game, potentially. Well, it will be because, it's his last home game before he goes off to Super League. And he's had a really fantastic season. So I think he's going to back that up in the finals series.
Can I make another little statement on this one? I've got a little same game multi for everyone. And it's funny because Jeremy mentioned a lot of these players, but a little same game. Don't pick a winner. I've just got a same game multi. I've got Jamal Fogarty and Hudson Young to score at any time, into Lachlan Fitzgibbon and Dom Young to score any time. All right. I haven't put that on yet, but I've been thinking about it all day. I'll get your price while you talk, Joel.
I was going to say, what's that paying?
Yeah, we'll let him get into it. I'll start introducing the next part of the show, which we'll try and get through quite quickly for everyone. I know there's a few questions in the comments as well. Keep them coming. We will get to them at the end of the show. Our Player of the Year award for each team. So obviously we had our big awards night last week, and just off the back of that, and clubs are starting to get into it, we're just going to put down who our player of each club is, and it's literally going to be like last week. We'll just go around and say our player. Adam,
this was hard, Joel. This was hard.
It was. I sat there for a bit of time, and a few of those clubs I had to go through some of the lists quite extensively and work it out. So it wasn't easy, but there's some
$121.
$180.
$121 for one. Power play for $140. So for $5, you get $700.
Oof.
There we go. There's barley money. Off you go.
Give it a Bradman.
Right, let's get into it. So the Penrith Panthers first up. Player of the Year for the Penrith Panthers. I'll go first. Dylan Edwards for mine. Has been great all year, consistent as always, and unlucky to miss out on Origin selection. That's how good his form was. So Dylan Edwards. I'll go to Jez next.
Yep. Honourable mention to Edwards. I had Cleary just for his game management and because Andrew Johns called him the lead singer. So Nathan Cleary for mine. None of this backup singer rubbish.
Adam?
I've actually got Crichton. I actually think a lot of their players have been disappointing this year, and they somehow still manage to win games, which is scary come finals time. But I think Crichton's had one of his much more mature years, not looking for those hero players all the time. And defensively, he's gotten a lot better. Massively, he's got a lot better defensively. So Stephen Crichton to play his last finals game this next 4 weeks because he's going to Dogs next week in the finals.
The Brisbane Broncos, Jez, you can go first.
Carrigan. I think he's had a great season, and his leadership has really stood up this year as well. So he's mine for the Broncos.
Ads?
Paynas. So I gave him the obviously props last week for being Player of the Year. So look, Reece Walsh has obviously been outstanding. Reynolds had an outstanding year. Obviously, Carrigan has as well, and Katoni Staggs. They all have their finished second, so they've all had good years. But I think without the work that Payne Haas does and the meters he makes out of trouble, and those first probably 2 out of the 3 runs in their good ball sets, he just sets them up perfectly for those players who got to play footy.
Yeah, it's the reason why I think they're going to be so dangerous in this finals competition. They've got so many players in really good form and have been throughout the year. But mine's Reece Walsh. I obviously gave him the award last week for my player of the year. So I just think Reece Walsh has been on another planet this season. The Melbourne Storm. Adam, you're first up for this one.
Yeah.
Your favourite player?
Well, it's Harry Grant.
Yeah.
I've bagged the bloke out that many times in his career. And as I said a couple of weeks ago, I think the smartest thing that they ever did, Melbourne, was get rid of Brendan Smith, because it's taken a bit of the laziness out of Harry Grant's game, expecting someone else to come on and do the job. And, yeah, he's just been outstanding. I want to give an honourable mention to Nick Meaney as well.
Wait, don't go. No. That's mine. Get out of it.
Well, honourable mention Nick Meaney for... Mate, just the way he's played down there. He's been a reborn player down there. And yeah, just it's going to be harsh for him to probably miss out in final selection the next couple of weeks with Pappenhausen Flyers this weekend.
Yeah, I'll keep mine nice and simple. I think Adam has summed it up. Harry Grant's mine. Jez.
Well, Adam touched on mine. It's Nick Meaney, and I've simply got because he's just stepped up this season, and even with the threat of Pappenhausen coming back, he's been very consistent, and he can kick a goal. So I favour my goal kickers, and Nick Meaney can slot him.
We can't go on episode.
He's a junior.
Yeah, getting back to the ninth. Jesus.
Joel,
sorry, before we go further, Joel upset me today. I'm in the middle of teaching my 3-4 class, and he sends me a thing of, if Ponga kicked his conversions, the Knights would have finished top 4. I know this, Joel. I know this.
If we would have kicked our conversions the first 4 weeks, we would have also made the 8. So I'm glad you didn't send that one through, Joel.
Yeah, well, oh well.
Anyway,
it is what it is. Unlucky. You're still in the final. You can't be that upset. Warriors. Let's talk about the Warriors. I've got Sean Johnson, obviously, as mine. One of the best players of the competition. So it's hard to go past him, Jez.
I had Sean Johnson. What a stellar season he's had.
Sean Johnson, honourable mention, Selesniak.
Absolutely, for that fantastic haircut.
Now, the Newcastle Knights. So, Jez is first. So, we good to hear what he has to say here. Don't take too long, Jez. Don't go on one of your big, massive rants.
Easy to say Ponga here, but I've gone Phoenix Crossland. He's just taken his career to the next level. So, he playing in the middle, being called up. So, I'm going for Phoenix. He's done well.
Is that a bit of an up you to all the haters out there as well?
Yeah, well, I wasn't Phoenix's biggest fan.
No one bagged him out for the Phoenix Crossland choice. I think one bloke bagged him out for the Phoenix.
No,
yeah, true.
No, he slipped under the radar. Apparently, everyone loves Phoenix Crossland.
As I said, there was some DMs, but I didn't send you everything because I was like, hang on, I don't want to dent your confidence too much. Adam, last time you're gonna have to talk about the Knights. Last time you're going to talk about the Knights this week. I know you hate doing it. Let us know your player.
We'll talk about the review of their lost game next week, but. Mine is actually Jackson Hastings. Look, the pressure of obviously last year of coming back from the Super League with such expectations. The Tigers, obviously there was dramas there, but adding to that, the pressure of wearing the Newcastle number 7 jersey, where they're really, look at Jared Mullen's career. Like he started so well when he was younger. It's very similar to wearing the 7 of the Parramatta jersey after Peter Stilling made it such a big thing back in the 80s. And the Knights really have never replaced what's that bloke's name? Andrew Johns? Yeah, that guy. Andrew Johns, and obviously what he did in that jersey. The pressure of that, he's had to, I know he's been out for a couple of weeks, but the way he got him through some of those games where it looked like he was the only one trying when Ponga was out, obviously with the head knocks, and, he obviously had different 5'8" combinations there for quite a while as well. So, Hastings is my player.
Good call.
Yeah, look, I'm going to do one of the honourable mention things at the moment. I'm going to say Tyson Gamble because I just think from someone who's on not much money at all and he's gone and he wasn't even first choice 5'8" as well. He just brought so much energy to this team. He's a pest, but he just something with him. He's just bringing this Knights team. He's the energy. And he's obviously
he's on your team.
It just works. Yeah, it works.
If Newcastle get beat this week, there's a fair chance I'll probably get punched in the face by Gamble. Jeremy's gone again.
I'm still here. It's just my
Harris
camera.
just scored again. Look, my player of the year, even though he's only played 18 games, is Kalen Ponga. I just think he's just single-handedly got the Knights back up and just given them a newfound confidence. It's just hard to go past a player that, for mine, is in that sort of Tom Trbojevic sort of form that we've seen. Dare I say, Jared Hayne of 09 as well, Ben Barber for the Dogs. So those sorts of players, he's in that sort of form at the
You've
moment.
mentioned some
Really
quality blokes, some
Yeah.
quality blokes there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Kalen,
Real
watch out.
Voldemort areas right there.
Yeah. The Cronulla Sharks are next. Adam, take us away with the Sharks.
Can we just touch on Michael's comment? He can punch holes in me all he wants. It means I'll probably never have to work again, and he'll probably never play football again. It's all part of the plan. Cronulla Sharks. Shit, eh? Probably didn't give much thought this team. It's definitely not Nico Hines. I think he's been average, and I think he's not a halfback.
This one was a tricky one.
It is a very tricky one. I want to say Brayley or Nakora. I think Nakora's been pretty solid there in the second row. But Brayley, if you're watching the attackingly, he's keeping Cameron McInnes at lock, isn't he? So it shows how well the Braves. So I'm going to say Brayley. And I really like Trindle as well, since Trindle's coming to the team.
Yeah. I'm going to say Britton Nakora. You mentioned him before. I think he's been not just one of the Sharks' best, but one of the best second rows in the comp as well. So really good player for New Zealand in the upcoming tests as well. Mr. Webcam himself.
Yeah, EOS webcam utility. I've got McInnes, and this was a really tricky one because you look at the team and it's just like,
you know, it'd go really well with
and
your
nor do I care. Not the biggest Sharks fan getting around.
Camera.
So, what
if you did your Adam O'Brien voice right about now, it'd be perfect.
My Sharks player of the year is Cam McInnes, and you probably think I'm crazy for saying this, but I actually think that he tries really hard every game, and just the amount of tackles that he makes per game. No, it's Cam McInnes for mine.
That's perfect. I actually thought we had Adam O'Brien there.
Can't see him. Sydney Roosters next. For mine, I've locked in Joey Manu for this one just because he's played multiple positions this year. He's been thrown in at 5'8". He was told to be the answer really for him and had all the pressure on him. Fullback at times when Tedesco's not there, and obviously center as well. And I just think every time he's been there, whether the Roosters are going well or not, he's always been one of those players that have stood up for him. And to be honest, Roosters are probably the hardest one I've found to do these awards for. I think there's been a lot of players that have been up and down this year or just not there at all. Jez?
Mine was Collins. Just he had a really great Origin series, and he has carried that over into Clubland as well. So Collins gets mine. He's just so consistent, and that's what I like in a player.
Yeah.
Look, let's be honest, the Roosters season's only really gone for the last 5 weeks. So if we're going to base it off the last 5 weeks, their season's actually gone for. I'm going to say Billy Smith based on that for the 5 weeks, but over the season, Jeremy probably nailed it. The only person that really turned up every week and constantly put in was Lindsay Collins.
Yep, exactly right. The Canberra Raiders now. Matty Boy. Matty Boy, Jez.
Canberra Raiders. I've got Fogarty. I just think they're a far better team when he is on the field. And there's been a couple of games where he's really taken control. And I think it was early in the season when we played Canberra. When I found out that they didn't have Fogarty, I kind of breathed a sigh of relief. So Fogarty for mine, for the Raiders.
Yeah, Adam?
Yeah, former Parramatta legend, one of the greats to ever not pull on the blue and gold jersey, Jamal Fogarty as well. Great signing. It's the one that got away from us because we never gave an opportunity, but like Jeremy said, he set himself to one of the top halfbacks in the game, and the thing I like about him, he can play structured and set up the team, but he's not afraid to take him on himself. Like you said, his kicks, like really aiming at the post like Johns used to do, and obviously getting a result off that several times. It's definitely a danger player to watch.
Yeah, I think mine is Matt Tomoko for the centre there for the Raiders, who I think's young gun comes through the ranks and really stood up this year and is really one of those strike centres to look out for in the next couple of years and probably making the Queensland Origin team in the next year or two as well. South Sydney, a harder one to do as well. Jez, what do you got for? Actually, I think we're at Adam now.
Yeah, well, there's a bloke in the team. I don't know if you guys know this, but he used to be a beach sprinter. Yeah, he's not.
He does every week.
He's not. You mean how many times you give me opportunities to get that in? He's not actually my player of the year for them. This was also a really hard one because I had some really big inconsistencies in their team as well. Honourable mention to Murray, but I'm going to say Kalamatangi. Consistently, obviously, turning up and being a pretty dangerous force there for him.
Yeah, I'm going Campbell Graham as my one. I just think he was really good, especially early on in the year. We know that South have fallen away, so it's hard to judge the last probably month or so. But he was up there, should have been chosen again in the Origin side, but injury sort of ruined that chance for him. But I thought he was really, really good, especially early on in the year. Jez, I think I did skip you actually, so South.
Yeah, you did. No, I had Cook just because he's so consistent, and that was another one where you had to really think about the players that they've had. I liked Adams; that was a good shout. But yeah, it's Damien Cook for mine because he's pretty good at running on what is it? Crushed rock, weathered over time, sand. Thank you.
The thing near the ocean. What's it called, Joel?
Oh,
Yeah.
It's a beach.
Yeah. What is it when you run really fast on the beach, Joel?
Yeah, I know. He's a beach sprinter. Let's move on
Is
from this
Oh,
one.
do you know that,
That
Jeremy?
makes sense. Nah, no idea. Makes
right.
sense.
The Parramatta Eels are up now. Unfortunately, we have to talk about him one more time, Adam. But player of the year will go back to Jez, who's just popped up again.
Hang on. Just marvel at this. This is my phone wirelessly using its camera through my Mac. It's blowing my mind.
Yeah, right.
I'm a tech wizard. Where are we up to?
Such a tech wizard who disappeared 3 times.
Oh, the Eels. The Eels. I don't like any of them, but I like Mitchell Moses. And it's my reason, he's the only one I like. Mitchell Moses. Just his kicking game. He's someone that I would want on my team. And I spruiked it during Origin series as well. Yeah, Mitch Moses.
Yeah, look, honourable mentions to Josh Hodgson, Andrew Davey, and obviously Wonga Blake. I know they're some of Joel's favourites, so I thought I'd give honourable mentions to them. Look, it's hard to go past Gutho, which is strange because I said I've obviously moving him away from fullback next year and moving to centres. And yeah, I'm going to go Gutho.
Yeah, I'm Gutho as well. I think he was week in, week out, always there, putting the effort. May have made a few of those little costly errors at times, but there was no one questioning his actual effort each and every week.
Can we come back for a second and say, if Big Wuramu didn't get injured, I reckon he would have been close to obviously taking that out because he was superb until he got injured.
Adam's main man. The Cowboys, another one of those disappointing teams. I think we're at. I think go Jez again. Why not? He loves being first.
I'm here. You can see me. I've gone Robson. Robson got his Origin debut throughout the season, and I think he was pretty good in clubland. And he also has the biggest chest I've ever seen. He filled out that Origin jersey, standing side on. It was a dead set D cup. It was fantastic. Chest goals.
I'm going to go Drinkwater. I think when they went on that run just to attempt to make the finals, where they're pretty much playing finals football every week, he pretty much put him on his back and said, "Come with me, boys." So I thought he was superb.
Same reasons I've given it to Drinky as well, and probably because he helped me get a couple of those same game multis as well, the old Drinky. So I have a drink for Drinky. The Manly Sea Eagles. Ads, I think, right now. Yeah, Ad.
Yeah, DCE. Same thing. Carried him. Kicking game got him out of trouble several times. Definitely wasn't Schuster, so had to go Dallasher Evans.
3 in a row. I've gone with you again, Adam. So I've gone DCE as well.
Eight lines, think alike.
One of his best years today. He's getting better with like a fine wine, better with age.
It's like Johnson. There's no pressure. Yeah. There's just no pressure on him. He's just out there enjoying footy.
That's it.
Yeah.
He's done everything in the game.
He was my honourable mention, but I also had Ruben Garrick down just for, again, goal kicking ability. That bloke doesn't seem to miss. And yeah, I just kind of like him. Every time he plays, I like watching him play, but it's hard to go past DCE.
Yeah, it certainly is. But let's just clarify, you have given it to Garrick, not DCE?
Yeah, absolutely. Come at me in the comments. I look forward to it.
The Dolphins, their first year up. Mine is the Hammer, so Tabuai, which I think, as I mentioned, there was the signing of the year for mine, and I think anytime he's there and actually playing at fullback, where I think he should be, this was like a different team, and a team that could have probably played finals if he was fullback for the whole year. Jez?
Mine is Dwayne Bennett, Wayne's cousin. fins up. Oh no, Jermaine Osako, he was leading try scorer for a while there. 24 tries, can finish him. So he's mine, but definitely
What do you
Dwayne
mean?
Bennett.
He finished.
At one point, he finished it. He wasn't just. He was top point scorer and top try scorer. He got the double.
No, how many did Dom Young get?
23.
Dom Young didn't get it. He got the record for Knights, not the NRL.
Yeah.
Oh,
As
I
we
thought Dom
said
Young
to you
got him at the
last
top
week,
there.
the NRL is
Open
not
your
just
eyes,
Newcastle.
Jeremy.
I mean, I wasn't wrong with saying he got 24 tries. I had the right number down. I just didn't look at the ladder. I don't care. Dwayne Bennett. It's not even Osako anyway. It's Dwayne Bennett that's won my Player of the Year for the Dolphins because he's a PR
genius.
He's great. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
There you go.
And he goes to all the games. It's fantastic. He was at the Knights just doing his fins up to random people. It's fantastic.
I think he's sponsored by Sportsbet. I'm pretty sure. Like I think he's
Certainly
definitely
is.
sponsored there.
Yeah.
Mine was actually Zarko with honourable mention, the hammer. Just the fact that Zarko finished with 24 tries and 200.
He won it.
Points. Thing is that he did. First player to finish top try scorer and top point scorer since Mal Meninga, I think was it 91? So long time.
Yeah.
My lifetime.
Yeah.
So
nice little stats there. The Gold Coast Titans, Jez, off you go.
Campbell. He's just exciting to see when he runs the ball. I like watching him play with my honourable mention to Foreign.
He broke his
Hang
knee.
on a second.
What?
Hang on. Jaden Campbell was either most of the year coming off the bench for 15 minutes. How does he get... Hang on.
Because this is my player that I like watching for that team. All right? Isn't this the segment? You're coming at me?
You can...
You're the one in the comments, aren't you? You're the one in the comments under alias.
He's got 25 different profiles ready to go this week.
That's right.
Yeah.
I like
no,
it.
you have it. No worries. Good work, Jaden Campbell. Well done. You won Jez's award. Adam?
I'm just about to say on the whatever it is, the 6th of October or whenever it is that Jeremy will be skating down King Street with Jacob Safidi, Phoenix Crosland on his shoulders on his skater board. He'll be laughing all the haters in the comments. But mine, honourable mention, Dave Fafita for playing I think one of his best years, but I can't go past Foreign. I know he missed a few games, but it just seems like these older players are just maturing. Foreign's obviously had a bad run of injuries and some other concerns as well, but the way he came out and played this year, I think he made Fafita a better player.
Yeah, and look, thanks to Andrew, he does bring up the point. Jez, it's just when you make these outlandish statements, it really fills up the DMs, which I love talking to the fans.
Get ready for the Bulldogs one.
Oh, seriously. For mine, the Titans, I've gone Kieran Foran as well. It was close to get to name Fafita of mine, but just especially on the weekend again, we've seen it. He just turned back the clock as we've seen Johnston and we've seen DCE do it. He's all over the shop here. But yeah, I just think Foran's had a remarkable year. And honourable mention to David Fafita, who I thought was really, really good. We spoke about that last week as well. The Bulldogs, Jez has said, watch out for the dogs. So let's go to Adam first.
No, go to him first. I want to hear this. I actually really want to hear what he says.
Reynolds, the comeback king. That was the best thing ever. As if you weren't all hyped on him coming back to the Bulldogs.
Oh, well, it was good to see it.
I wasn't.
And in a dismal season where everything went wrong, that was the best thing for me for the Dogs.
I can't have this on because I reckon me and Adam are going the same player, and there's no way you can have him in the same sentence for this award as the player Adam is about to name. Name him, Adam. Just let me put some context to you. Go on.
Averillo.
Oh, I wasn't who I actually thought you were going to go.
No,
I went Preston.
Preston. Yeah, you're right. Preston was actually pretty good. Yeah, I went Averillo for the excitement he created. I thought Preston actually dropped off at the back end of the year. As I thought Averillo just consistently gave him a lot of opportunities in a team that struggled for opportunities.
Yeah, well, obviously, I've gone Preston. I thought his first debut year, remarkable performance, and especially in a Dogs pack that was getting absolutely smashed week in, week out. So,
especially for that rare thing that he is a Roosters junior, very rare.
Yeah, and really rare that he got to feature in Josh Reynolds' comeback game. So shout out for that one as well. And good work, Josh Reynolds. Well done. Dragons now, second last team. We're almost done. For mine, I've gone Ben Hunt. Just everything revolved around Ben Hunt this year. I don't think Dragons did too much good in any game. So yeah, Ben Hunt. Jez?
Yeah, I've got no outlandish one for this one, so I've gone Ben Hunt as well.
Adam?
They're all shit besides him, weren't they? So I'm going to say Ben Hunt as well.
Just think about the adversity and the drama that was surrounded him in the middle of the season with all the contract talks, and then he came out week in, week out, and was their best player.
A lot of players wouldn't have stepped on the field, and he's just re-signed with them until the end of 2024. Well, anyway, there must be something good happening down there for a club that's in all sorts. I want to give an honourable mention to Ravalawa. He obviously had the run of injuries too, where he didn't play as well, but just out of the team. Yeah, Andrew said as well. I just thought he consistently gave him something. You put him on the back of a decent backline with decent halves. I think he'd be a really dangerous player. I'd have him at Parramatta over Seaver, I will say that much.
Yeah. The Tigers, Adam, your one, last team.
Fuck. Well, not Papali'i. Obviously, Buller come on and was, if we're going to go for the year, and am I going to give it to him based on the criticism he copped? Before Parramatta played the Tigers, and Luke Brooks was under all sorts of pressure. And, they started to play those probably 2 or 3 games where they went pretty well, and he thought, shit, they were actually starting to get a bit entertaining to watch here. I thought Luke Brooks actually turned up and played without pressure for quite a while, then he got injured. So I'm going to give it to Brooks, for turning around his season. Yeah.
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, 100%.
Give it to Brock Lesnar.
I think he'll flourish at Manly next year with DCE. I think it'll be excellent.
So do I.
Of course he will. He's got to get out of there.
Jez?
I've gone Bateman. I don't particularly like him, but he was pretty consistent throughout the year. But again, it was really hard to look at that team and pick someone. They're an absolute basket case.
They are. I've gone Happy Coruscant. Happy Coruscant for mine.
Put your coward cap back on.
Lately.
Sorry, John.
I think he's been really good for the West Tigers. Quickly, just go through some questions here that were brought up as we were going, and one of the ones here just about obviously talking about South Sydney. And the comment here from Ron Churchill. Obviously, that was about. I was about to say Greg Inglis. It wasn't Greg Inglis. It was. Got a mental blank here. Help me out, boys. Fullback Latrell Mitchell, obviously. I think he came out and sort of said a few harsh words. What do you boys think about this? And I think, in more general terms, the criticism of Latrell Mitchell, is it fair, warranted? Like, I don't know. I feel like in a way, Adam, you mentioned about this a couple of weeks ago. Do you think the comments were fair?
So we're on a roller coaster here. Can we go back for a second and change my Tigers one and give it to Alex Twal just for scoring a try?
Oh, yeah. He got budget smugglers made in his honour.
I know, I saw that. I'm going back. Look, Latrell, I don't know. I hate the bagging out he cops because I think he's such a good player to our game. But I don't know how to word it. There seems to be a real issue with that club at the moment with the coaching staff and with Latrell and some of the other players and not wanting to get the best. And he's produced a lot of lazy efforts for the kind of money he's on. So I get why the comments were made in regard to that. That's, I think, was the main point of them. But the best thing for Latrell's career is to get him into a position next year where he has to actually be involved more because fullback isn't working for him. We saw how good he was at the Roosters. I still think he's the best centre in the game. I think he's the best centre in the game if he actually goes there. So, look, I found it pretty funny that South come out and said they weren't going to take the Clive Churchill medal when they weren't even going to play finals football, but there was no chance of making a grand final. But like I said, it's going to be an interesting year for Latrell next year. He could either come out and fire and be one of the best players in the comp, or he could fade away, put no effort in. He's going to cop a lot of heat, and it could be the end of him in the game, to be honest, because I don't know how much more he can take of this constant media scrutiny.
Yeah, hard.
He might just slip away. He might
have to. And it's like I said, it's getting into a dangerous territory where we know he's had his concerns and stuff. Like, I'll tell you this much: I would not want to be playing in the Korean knockout on grand final weekend, because Latrell will be lining up for someone who'll be out with a point to prove.
Yeah. Just quickly, Andrew, just touch on just the South did actually do something for Kyle Turner. It was great to see. One thing I will say about that, on the TV, you could hear there was only one or two of them, absolute palookas, absolute dickheads. They're shouting out and making sure that they were heard during it, which I thought was absolutely disgusting. And there's always someone who does it. Just honestly, pull your heads in. It's just a joke. It's obviously something that was so close to that club there, and just be doing that. Just don't turn up to a footy game again. You're not welcome. You're not warranted, and just no point to do it at all. But I've realised
I want to highlight on that, because what happens a lot of time with the ones at a core stadium, I've been there for minute silence at the core stadium, and it's why when Parramatta played their games there, they went to the minutes of applause instead of the minute silence.
Yeah.
When you walk into that ground, you are so far physically away from the ground, and it echoes like all buggery. A lot of that yelling out you could hear by the echo was actually coming from back behind the grandstand. So as people walked in, they may not know what was going on. As Michael said, it kind of, it doesn't happen at Anzac Day. The reason it doesn't happen at Anzac Day is because everyone gets in, obviously knowing the spectacle that's going to be what happens on. So that's one of the biggest issues that happens there. I know for a fact that's why Parramatta started doing that when they were there. They went to that minute's applause, and just a better way to do it, because you can't control everyone. Obviously, you can't control kids. Says that someone who, I was about to say owns a 3-year-old, has a 3-year-old. You know how hard they can be to control. I remember sitting there, I was watching the Maitland game at the wedding on Saturday before the wedding started, and I was worried there was a minute silence when the ex-players that passed away. I was worried my son was going to scream out. I don't know if he did. My brother can probably comment, but, I'm a much bigger fan of going for the minute's applause to remember someone's life.
I think kids are more accepted, though. Like if you hear an adult male yelling out absolute garbage during that, then that's pretty frowned upon. But children, they don't probably have that full understanding of what is happening. So there is a little bit of leniency when it comes to children.
Yeah, I agree.
I like the applause, though. I
don't get the point of a silence. Like, what's achieved? Like, it's
Can you highlight that?
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Just child abuse.
Yeah.
We don't condone this behaviour on League of Inches, but boys, I realise what time it is. We do have to get going. But Jez, as I said, I'm giving you the final word here. Last week we had our awards night. The poster went up. Everyone's awards were out there, and the team of the year. I have never gotten so many DMs and throwback comments over some of your selections. So
your DMs are filling up like Kalen Ponga's, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much. I thought I was in strife or something. I was like, holy shit! But it was just Jez's comment. It was just Jez's selection. So, what do you got to say to back yourself up, Jez?
It's good to be different. If we were all the same, the world would be pretty boring. So, get that up here. No, it's all love. It's all love. I'm sure they'll jump on in your DMs about my shoddy camera work. Look how sad my camera looks, by the way. It just gave up on life. It's like, oh, I fell over. Oh, poor camera. But no, look, I don't have to explain myself. They're my choices. That's all right. Get your own podcast if you want your choices.
I just hope in the off season you actually do some research and realize the competition has 17 teams and not just one. So that'd be really good. But on that note, guys, thanks for listening. It's been
He's gone. That's
finals
right.
week.
All right, Joel. The Knights will be irrelevant again next year anyway, hopefully.
Finals week. Enjoy. We'll be back next week to talk about obviously the semi-finals week number 2.